nights. Red army boots crunch softly as the first Soviet infantrymen move past the shattered tree line. Ahead of them lies what appears to be an abandoned German defensive position, torn barbed wire, collapsed earthworks, and silence. Too much silence. You can almost feel it, the way seasoned soldiers slow their breathing, how fingers tighten on rifle stocks. The men of the 11th Guards Army have fought their way across Belarus, through Poland, through hell itself. They know what a real retreat looks like. This doesn't look real. Captain Ivan Petrov, a veteran officer with scars from Kursk, raises his fist. The column halts instantly. No shouted orders, no unnecessary movement. Just the faint wind cutting across the snowfields of East Prussia. Ahead of them lies what appears to be an abandoned German defensive position, torn barbed wire, collapsed earthworks, and silence. Too much silence. You can almost feel it, the way seasoned soldiers slow their breathing, how fingers tighten on rifle stocks. The men of the 11th Guards Army have fought their way across Belarus, through Poland, through hell itself. They know what a real retreat looks like. This doesn't look real. Captain Ivan Petrov, a veteran officer with scars from Kursk, raises his fist. The column halts instantly. No shouted orders, no unnecessary movement. Just the faint wind cutting across the snowfields of East Prussia. Somewhere ahead, a crow lifts into the gray sky. Nothing else moves. Petrov studies the ground. The Germans were meticulous, that much is already clear. The trenches are shallow, deliberately collapsed. Dugouts appear smashed by artillery. Even a machine gun position sits half-buried, its barrel bent as if destroyed by shellfire. It looks convincing. Too convincing. A sapper kneels. Sergeant Mikhail Orlov, explosive specialist. He probes the ground gently with his bayonet. 10 centimeters down, the metal taps something solid. He freezes. "Captain," he mutters, "this ground has been turned over, recently." Petrov's jaw tightens. The order goes out quietly. No one advances another step. Moments later, Orlov clears the snow with his hands. Beneath it, wires, thin, almost invisible, running not forward, but sideways, laced into the frozen earth like veins. German engineering. The Red Army had seen booby traps before, mines wired to doors, grenades under corpses, tripwires in forests. But this is different. This is layered, planned, almost artistic in its cruelty. Orlov follows the wire with his eyes. It disappears beneath the ruined machine gun nest. He swallows. "Captain," he mutters, "if this wire is cut..." He doesn't finish the sentence. Petrov signals everyone back, slowly, carefully. One wrong step could set off a chain reaction. And then it happens. Not from the wire, not from the nest, from behind them. A thunderous explosion rips through the rear of the column. Snow, dirt, and body parts erupt into the air. The shockwave slams into the men like a wall. A scream cuts through the smoke, then another, then silence. The Germans had let them walk in. This wasn't a defensive line. It was a kill zone. Hidden charges detonate beneath a shallow ridge the Soviets had already crossed. Pressure mines connected by buried cables. The blast collapses the snow crust, dropping men into a pit of fire and shrapnel. And immediately, machine guns open up. Not from the front, from the flanks. Camouflaged MG-42 nests roar to life, their barrels hidden behind fake debris and snow-draped logs. The sound is unmistakable, a ripping mechanical howl that chews through flesh faster than the mind can process. Men dive for cover that doesn't exist. The Germans had measured the angles perfectly, interlocking fields of fire, overlapping arcs. Every instinct the Soviets relied on, advance, overwhelm, push through, has been anticipated. Petrov hits the ground as bullets crack inches overhead. He sees one of his lieutenants, a boy barely 20, try to crawl backward. A mine detonates beneath him. There is nothing left to crawl. This is not improvisation. This is doctrine. German defensive doctrine refined to its most lethal form. As smoke drifts across the field, Soviet commanders begin to realize the truth. The Wehrmacht may be retreating strategically, but tactically, here, they are fighting with cold precision. East Prussia is not just another province. It is German soil, and they are defending it like men with nothing left to lose. Within minutes, the advance has completely stalled. Radios crackle with fragmented reports, entire platoons pinned down, sappers killed before they can clear paths, officers shouting orders that cannot be executed. Behind the lines, Major General Kuzma Galitsky receives the first reports. He listens in silence, then asks one question. How many traps? The answer comes back hesitantly. Unknown, Comrade General. Possibly hundreds. Galitsky closes his eyes, because now it makes sense. The Germans are no longer trying to hold territory. They are trying to bleed time, to slow the Soviet advance meter by meter. Every trap forces caution. Every caution costs hours. Every hour costs lives. And the worst part? This is only the outer layer. As Soviet engineers finally begin dismantling the first network, cutting wires, marking mines, neutralizing charges, they uncover something even more disturbing beneath the snow. A second system. Independent, redundant, deadlier. And somewhere, unseen, German observers are watching, waiting for the next mistake. Snow is scraped away layer by layer. Wires emerge, different thicknesses, different directions. Some lead nowhere, others loop back on themselves. A few disappear into the frozen ground and reappear meters away. German engineers have built not a single trap, but a decision maze. Sapper Lieutenant Alexei Morozov stares at it, disbelief etched across his soot-streaked face. This one isn't connected, he says, pointing to a wire Orlov had carefully exposed. It's a decoy. Another wire runs beneath it, then another beneath that. False triggers, dummy charges, empty mines placed deliberately to waste time. The Germans are not just killing soldiers, they are killing momentum. Morozov realizes something chilling. Every minute his men spend disarming fake traps, real ones remain active, and the machine guns covering the field have not fired in several minutes. That too is intentional. Silence is part of the weapon. Across the field, a Soviet platoon commander grows impatient. His men are pinned down behind a shallow embankment, freezing, morale slipping by the second. He radios for permission to push through the minefield using infantry lanes, standard doctrine when time is critical. The response from higher command is immediate. Denied. Too many unknowns. The Germans have turned Soviet caution into paralysis. Morozov finally cuts what he believes is the main detonator line. Nothing happens. A breath of relief ripples through the sappers. Then, click. A barely audible metallic sound beneath the earth. Orlov shouts, "Down!" The explosion is smaller this time, but precise. A directional charge erupts sideways, not upward, designed to shred legs, not throw bodies. 2 men go down screaming. 1 doesn't scream at all. The Germans have designed the traps to punish patterns. Cut the obvious wire, it triggers the hidden one. Avoid the center, the flanks are mined. Crawl, pressure plates. Walk, tripwires at ankle height. This is not improvisation. This is expertise. Captured German field manuals later confirm what Soviet officers are now learning the hard way. These defenses were constructed by specialized pioneer battalions, combat engineers trained explicitly in anti-infantry deception. Many are veterans of the Eastern Front, men who have watched Soviet tactics for years and learned how to counter them. By mid-afternoon, Galitsky orders artillery suppression along suspected firing arcs. Katyusha rockets scream overhead, slamming into the tree line. Snow and timber explode skyward. For a moment, it feels like progress. Then, the machine gun.
The artillery barrage begins on schedule. Heavy guns first, then rockets, then mortars walking their fire forward in disciplined waves. The ground shakes, trees splinter, snow evaporates into steam. From a distance, it looks like annihilation. Up close, the effect is far less decisive. German positions vanish, only to reappear, because many of them were never where the Soviets thought they were. As the barrage lifts, Soviet infantry rises from the snow and moves forward cautiously, following the narrow cleared lanes carved out by the sappers during the night. White tape marks the safe paths. One step outside the line means death. You can feel the tension in every movement. Men do not run, they do not shout. They place each foot deliberately as if walking on glass. This is no longer an infantry assault. This is an engineer's war. Lieutenant Morozov leads the first sapper team. His eyes never leave the ground. His hands work constantly, probing, brushing, cutting, marking. Behind him, riflemen follow at exact spacing, their weapons useless unless the traps are cleared. A single mistake could kill them all. 10 meters in, Morozov stops. He has found something new. A wooden crate, half buried. German markings. Inside, nothing. No explosives, no detonator. A decoy. He marks it and moves on. 5 meters later, another crate, this one wired. A trip mechanism disguised as a hinge. Clever. He disables it. Then another, and another. The Germans are forcing the Soviets to disarm everything because any one of them could be real. Speed is impossible. Suddenly, a shot rings out. Not a machine gun, a rifle, precise. A sapper collapses, a red bloom spreading across his chest. A German sniper, firing from a position that survived the bombardment, has found the slowest moving target. The message is clear. Clear traps and you die. Rush and you die faster. Petrov orders smoke deployed. White clouds billow forward, blinding both sides. For a few moments, the machine guns fall silent. Then, the ground explodes again. Anti-lift mines, hidden beneath disabled charges, designed to detonate only when disturbed. The Germans have assumed the Soviets will clear their traps properly, and punish them for doing so. Morozov drags the wounded backward through the smoke. His mind races. This isn't just about clearing explosives, it's about reading the enemy's thinking. He begins to notice patterns, not in where traps are placed, but in where they are not placed. Small gaps, irregular spacing, areas that look too clean. He signals Petrov. "They're herding us," he says, "like cattle, towards something heavier." Petrov looks ahead, towards a shallow depression beyond the minefield, a natural fold in the terrain. Ideal cover. Too ideal. He radios artillery and asks for a concentrated strike on the depression. The response comes back. Ammunition is limited. Priority targets lie deeper. Command wants the infantry to push. Petrov hesitates, then orders the strike anyway. Minutes later, shells rain down on the depression. The earth erupts, and with it, hidden bunkers, steel-reinforced firing pits, and ammunition caches. Secondary explosions ripple outward. A German strongpoint, completely concealed, is obliterated. For the first time since entering East Prussia, the Soviets have outthought the defense. But the victory is incomplete. As the smoke clears, German flares rise into the sky. Green, then red. Signals. Within seconds, artillery responds. Not German guns from the front, but pre-registered fire from the rear. The minefields have been mapped. The cleared lanes are known. Shells slam directly into the marked paths. The Germans have anticipated success. Men scatter. Tape is torn away. Safe lanes vanish under craters and fire. The battlefield resets itself, deadlier than before. By midday, Soviet casualties mount. Progress measured in meters. Entire companies exhausted without ever seeing the enemy's faces. That evening, Galitsky convenes his senior officers. The assessment is grim. The Germans have transformed defense into a system of delay, one that consumes time, men, and morale. Every kilometer forward will cost exponentially more. And yet, there is no alternative. Berlin lies ahead, but East Prussia is teaching a brutal lesson. The final months of the war will not be a collapse, they will be a grind. And the most dangerous weapons are not tanks or planes, but wires buried beneath the snow. By 1810 hours, the battlefield is swallowed by darkness, broken only by burning trees and the dull orange glow of distant artillery. The temperature drops fast, wounded men stiffen, the dead freeze where they lie. For the Red Army, night usually brings relief, cover for regrouping, a chance to infiltrate. Here, it brings something worse: uncertainty. The German defensive doctrine has anticipated this too. As Soviet units pull back slightly to reorganize, sappers notice something disturbing. The minefield has changed. Not entirely, but enough. Wires that were cut are now reconnected. Cleared paths are no longer safe. Fresh tripwires appear where none existed hours earlier. The Germans are moving forward at night, not to attack, but to repair the trap. Reconnaissance patrols confirm it. Shadowy figures, low to the ground, slipping through their own minefields with intimate familiarity. Pioneers, engineers, carrying wire spools, detonators, fresh charges. They work silently, methodically, under the assumption that Soviet artillery will not fire blindly into their own cleared zones. And they are right. Lieutenant Morozov watches through binoculars as a German team resets a charge less than 70 meters from Soviet lines. He could shoot. He doesn't. Because behind them, barely visible, lies another wire. A counter trap. If the Germans are doing this, it means one thing. They expect the Soviets to attack again at dawn along the same axis, which means the next layer is already waiting. Inside a half-collapsed farmhouse, Petrov, Morozov, and several company commanders huddle around a crude map. Candles flicker, coffee goes untouched. "We cannot keep reacting," Petrov says quietly. "We are playing their game." Morozov nods. "Then we stop clearing, we start misleading." The plan that forms is risky, unorthodox, but desperation sharpens creativity. Instead of fully clearing minefields, Soviet sappers will create false clearings, paths that look safe but are deliberately left incomplete, obvious, tempting. German observers watching from concealed positions will assume these are the chosen attack routes. Meanwhile, real infantry infiltration teams, light infantry trained for night movement, will probe areas considered too dangerous to attack, places with dense, seemingly illogical trap placement. Because German engineers think like professionals, and professionals leave gaps only where they believe no one would dare to go. At 02:30, the first infiltration begins. Men move without lights, without talking. They carry wire cutters, wooden probes, and an almost superstitious caution. Every step is tested, every sound freezes blood. One soldier slips, his boot brushes a wire. Nothing happens. They wait 30 seconds, then another. The wire is real, but disconnected. A decoy meant to frighten. They advance further. The traps here are dense, but predictable, linear, defensive rather than deceptive. This is not a kill zone. It is a wall meant to intimidate. By 0400, Soviet scouts have bypassed the primary mine belt entirely. They crawl into the rear of a German support position, where the defenses are thinner, simpler. Standard mines, no deception. Because no one was supposed to get this far. The first attack hits just before dawn. Not from the front, but from behind. A German machine gun crew is overrun in seconds. A command post erupts in chaos as Soviet grenades roll into dugouts. Telephone lines are cut. Officers scramble, trying to understand how the enemy is suddenly inside the system. The brilliance of the German traps now works against them. Their own fields of fire are oriented outward. Their own mine belts prevent rapid redeployment. Units cannot rush forward without risking detonation. The defense begins to fracture. Petrov orders a limited frontal push, not to break through, but to apply pressure. German gunners fire, but coordination is slipping. Some positions fall silent, others fire blindly. Then, a massive explosion shakes the ground. A German ammunition dump, mapped during the night infiltration, goes up. Secondary blasts ripple through the defensive network. Carefully laid wires snap uselessly. Triggers lose their purpose. For the first time, the traps are just metal in the dirt. By midday, Soviet infantry has advanced further in 6 hours than in the previous 2 days. But victory feels uneasy, because as German resistance collapses in this sector, something else becomes apparent. This defensive system was not everywhere. It was selective. Captured documents confirm it later. The Germans concentrated their most complex booby-trap defenses not where they could stop the Red Army, but where they could shape it, delay it, bleed it, buy time for civilians to evacuate, for units to withdraw deeper towards Königsberg. The traps were never meant to win. They were meant to hurt. As Morozov walks through a cleared field that no longer kills, he stops at a dismantled device, a masterpiece of engineering, elegant, deadly. He shakes his head. So much